Composer Gloves here, and this is another video in the FL12 Effects series. Today we're going to look at the Fruity Peak Controller. And now, this is not a plugin I use very much because I almost always can think of some other way I prefer to do it that offers me more control. But I'm going to cover it for you because this might be something you might be interested in. And I guess you'll find out why in a sec. So here I have some chords. And I'm going to play these chords with this kick. And I'm going to create a sidechain effect. You notice as I hit this kick, kind of a neat little automation happens with the fader on that track. It is generating automation using the peak controller. So if I play it. Now I just threw something together to show you what this could do, not intending to like make a track. As you can see, there's one pad chord and a kick, not very much going on. So, and it's on the default sound with nothing changed. So what this is it can take input, audio input, and it can detect the volume of that and use that input in order to control something. So let's go ahead and unlink this. So link to controller, none, click accept. So now nothing's controlling that. Peak controller, let's go ahead and replace it with none. And okay, so let's just assume, let's move the kick to track 2. So first you need some chords and a kick. So open up Harmor, put Harmor on track, I don't know, 10. It doesn't matter. So 10, and then put the kick on track 4. So this is essentially just random. Everything's at default now. So here's track 4. And this is our kick. So I'm going to name it that, kick. And here's track 10. That's Harmor. And we are going to set it up so that the kick goes out. But when the kick hits, the fader on Harmor ducks. And you could do this with any controller. You could do this with filters. You could do this with delays. You could multi-link this to any combination of things. This is just a combo routing like thing. So it's really, really great for control and things like that. Again, though, I find myself just recreating automation and doing things. That way I can make specific changes as I go. Maybe live, though, I have a feeling this one would be more applicable in the live scenario. So we have our kick, and it's going out here, but we need to send the kick data also to a peak controller. So we're going to come over to here, number 11. We're going to name this one the peak, the peak. And we're going to load up a peak controller on it. And we're going to come over here, Fruity Peak Controller. Here we go. And you can see it's already generating data. And it's actually got an LFO already. If you want to get an LFO, you can do that. You can do it right here. So I don't want an LFO. And so we are going to, here's the peak. And so we're going to use the kick. We're going to route it into the peak. And we're going to keep it going out the master. So we're going to do the kick into 11, 12, whatever one this is. Yeah. All right, right on. So now when we play the kick, we should see it come up on the peak controller. There it is. And that is the automation. So whatever we are automating is going to turn on and then turn off that fast. And it's using the level of the kick to do this. So these are just options. I know Fruity Limiter has a similar option. That's one of the better options I like using. But I also like just doing custom automation because that's the most specific I can get. Have it exactly the way I want. So the kick coming in, and it's still going out the audio. Now we've muted the audio and peak, so nothing comes out of peak. If we turn this off, it gets out. So we don't want layers that we don't know about. So mute it. What this ramp button does is it prevents changes from sudden changes. So as you can see, it slightly ramps things. Why would you want that? I mean, it's very, very, very slight. That is so that you don't get clicks and pops. But with a kick, we kind of want a click. So if it becomes something noticeable, try ramp. It will probably get rid of it. And it's really simple. You have the peak control. This controls the automation data. So this is our default stuff that we have to work with. As we turn our bass up, you see that the minimum value raises, but the automation stays the same length apart. So we're going to turn our bass back down. We have this volume, and right now our volume's going up. If we could boost it up to 200%, and now we have it'll go on, off. And we might not want that, so you can invert it. But now we get nothing. We get the shadow of what the actual automation is, but we don't get anything. So we need to turn our bass up to its maximum value. And now whatever it is, it'll turn off, on, which is what we want. Then you have this tension. So tension is like this. If we were to just automate anything, literally anything, I'm going to automate this. Tension is this. That's tension. So that's one direction of tension. That's another one. That's literally all it is. Okay, so it's just different curves. So if we come back in here to our peak controller, which I'm going to detach, we can mess with the tension. You can see how our curve changes. Sometimes it's not a good thing. It does not do what we want. So this white line is our final output. That's what we get. I like that. It does what I want. And then we have decay. This is how long it takes for the effect to return to the automation to return to its regular value. As you can see, this long decay takes freaking forever to go all the way back up. As we turn the decay up, really fast decay will turn right back on. That's sort of what we want for our fader. So we've got the automation we want. Now we do have this LFO. We can add it into our mix here and turn the volume up so that we get our sine wave. We can change the speed. So what an LFO is it's just a really low frequency oscillator. You can change how fast this moves. So this is generating automation data too. You can change how fast it goes like that. And so this would be useful for live. And you can boost or cut it. And what happens is it gets combined with and what ends up coming out is, I believe, the white one. The white signal is our final automation output. And so when our LFO is lower, it actually subtracts from or adds, depending. So if it's lower and our automation's up here, it's going to get pulled down. If it's above, our automation is going to get boosted. Or I believe it's just a summing process. I think it's always, no, they have negative values. I don't know. Anyways, you have an LFO in here. It's your general LFO stuff. I have a video in the Harmor series on LFOs and a video in and pretty much every plugin series I've ever done. So just go look up like LFO. I guarantee you some video on my channel will pop up explaining LFOs. And it's a general term that you should just understand. So that's the thing. Now you can adjust the tension on the LFO itself as well. And so this can be used to vary your peak signal if that's something you want. I do not want an LFO, so I'm just going to keep it off. And I guess it is only a summing scheme because when it's off, it's at 0. So I don't know. So right now as we play, and you can see right here our value of automation. So you can see them changing. So enough of that. Let's actually link it to the Harmor. So as we come over here, right click whatever control you want. You'll get a pop-up menu. Go to link to controller. On internal controller, click. We want it to control automation Fruity Peak controller. So you have different options here. You can have the controller control the peak and the LFO, so them two together. You have peak, which is what we want, just the peak side of things, and then you have just the LFO. So if you need an LFO somewhere, which I've never really considered that, but you could use the LFO here. They have LFOs in other places in FL. That would be very useful. So we're going to use the peak. And we're going to accept that. We want the mapping formula to be 1-to-1 because it's coming the way we want. If you add it backwards and for whatever reason you can't figure out what you're doing wrong, but you can get it to do it backwards, you can come into the mapping formula and they have all these different options. Oh my gosh. Well, the one that you want is inverted and it will invert it. You can actually write out your own little formula to tell it to behave just the way you want, but we are not going to talk about that right now. So you click accept. And now it's linked up. Now you see it's coming all the way up though. We don't want that. So we're going to take our base value down to about here, which is where we want our fader at. Now, I actually probably want my fader lower, which is another reason why I wouldn't necessarily want to do this with the P controller. As you see, it's moving our fader according to our kick. And as we turn this back on, That's how you set up a basic sidechain. But again, you can use this with anything. I encourage you to get creative, come up with different things you can use this with. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments, subscribe, and have a blessed day.
Opposing blows. Reversing.